Recently, I got to sit with my dear friend Michael Fowlkes, who put together this epic tale of the history of sport fishing. That interview is coming up next. You are going to love it. Michael's such a great guy, and he is such a magnificent film editor. This history of sport fishing is something you need to purchase. You can find the link in our show description right now, and you should purchase it because it is so well done. I mean, it's informative, it's exciting, it's entertaining, it's got historical film that you're simply not going to believe. Stay tuned right now. Michael Fowlkes is coming up next. I got to sit with him and spend some quality time, and now you get to spend that quality time with Michael also. One more time again, purchase The History of Sport Fishing. It is absolutely magnificent. Everybody, before we get rolling here today, you can help the Friedman Adventures cause by purchasing a hat or some other Friedman Adventures merchandise right now. All you have to do is go to embroiderycreations.net and order some merchandise. It helps us keep the content headed your way. Deeply appreciate all your love and support. Thank you, and we'll see you soon. Michael Fowlkes, how are you, my friend?
Philip, I'm good, sir.
God, it's so good to see you.
You too.
Man, it's been so long. You and I go back a long time. In fact, I remember, what was the name of the yacht you were running?
The Instinct.
Yeah, and we got boarded by the Mexican Navy on my brother's bachelor party.
Yep.
Yeah, that was so much fun.
And you guys spoke fluent Spanish because we had no license, we had no permits. We were way down in
We
there.
talked our way out of that one.
They had all these kids with no shoes and submachine guns.
Yeah. Oh my God, that had to be what, 85, something like that?
I think it was like 80. I want to say 87.
Yeah, probably.
87.
That's a great memory. But since that time, you have excelled in this industry and produced so many great films. Could you tell our people out there just a little bit about your history before we get into the history of sport fishing?
Well, first of all, I want to say I remember back in '87 when you were running 976 tuna.
Yeah.
We were calling in a report. You remember that?
Yeah, you got bit or something.
We got bit while we were calling in the report, and I think you ran that for like
100. Yeah, 100. Yeah,
it was so. Oh my God, we're bit.
Yeah, I mean, that was exactly the kind of stuff I was after in those days. And while you're telling me you're bit, I'm saying to myself, "Whoa, this is so good."
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Good stuff.
Yeah, well, you were one of the first, if not the first, to step out of the print media.
Yes.
Because up until then, all we had was Western Outdoor News.
That's right.
I mean, that was it.
Yep.
Or the LA Times.
Yep.
I'd get the LA Times just to get their little 2-inch fish report.
Absolutely. Every morning, right?
Every morning. That was it.
Yep.
And then, Western Outdoor News was a weekly, so by the time you got that, it was pretty outdated. And
yes.
all of a sudden, you come along and it's 9. And when I was running charters as a captain.
Yes.
I would call 976 tuna before we left the dock
yes.
to get the latest dope because I was a new guy. I was a greenie.
Yeah.
I mean, I was as green as they come, and I didn't have any code group. I didn't have anybody to talk to.
Right.
So, Buzz on the prowler, got him 60 miles off the point. I'm going, okay, that's where we're going.
That is so funny,
So you were instrumental in helping expand this industry into the modern digital age, if you will.
Thank you. I got lucky, man. I got every once in a while, out of the millions of ideas I've had, I got one good one, maybe two now with Friedman Adventures. Who knows?
Yeah.
But you've had so many successes. Tell people you've had TV shows, you've done documentaries, you've done it all.
Well, yeah, I've been very, very fortunate to have found a niche and a passion that I love, and that's fishing and filming. And to get to combine those two things for my whole life, I mean, I couldn't ask for any more.
Right.
I haven't gotten rich, but I've lived a very rich life.
Yes.
That I wouldn't trade for the world.
Right. It's more important, isn't it?
To me, it is. I went through stage 4 cancer, and was near death and all that stuff. And
how is your health now?
I'm good.
Good.
Knock on wood, I'm really good.
God bless.
Switched over to a plant-based diet.
Yeah.
And I'm taking cold showers.
Yeah.
And it's like, phew, what a difference. I mean, just
great.
A little change in diet and a little change in water temperature, and it's just amazing.
You look fantastic.
Oh, thanks. I feel really good. for an old man.
Yeah, yeah.
But I lost track of what we were talking about there.
Well, just your history in this business, the stuff that you've accomplished. It's, weekly TV show for so many years.
30 years.
Yeah.
30 years. We ran a Inside Sport Fishing on Fox.
Yep.
And then now it's over on Prime Video, so you can watch it on Prime.
Yeah.
And then, I've always had this idea in the back of my mind about wanting to do the birth of big game fishing.
Yes.
When I found out that the first tuna and the first marlin and the first broadbill swordfish ever caught in history on a rod and reel were caught off Avalon.
Right.
I went, oh my God, I never knew that.
It's in our backyard.
It's in our backyard, and I never even knew it. So I started, I've always been sort of a history, fanatic. I love documentaries, and I love collecting old tackle.
I can see that. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's just fun stuff to, fun to do.
Yeah.
And when I found out that those 3 species had been captured off Avalon, I decided I'd really like to tell that story. So it was kind of an idea of the endless summer. Bruce Brown meets Ken Burns for sport fishing. Yeah. And I said, all right, I can come up with probably 60 minutes of stuff that really captures the story. So we started digging in, and the Avalon Tuna Club, the museum, Santa Catalina Museum, the Santa Barbara Museum, Balboa Angling Club. I mean, everybody that heard about it said, oh, what can we do to help? And I said, you got any money? No. No, nobody had any money. But they did say we've got some great archives. We've got great photographs. We've got old videos. We got old movies.
Yeah.
You're welcome to anything in our vaults.
That's great.
And that started to open the door. And then the IGFA heard about it, and that's when the floodgates just opened. And IGFA is a treasure trove of historical. I mean, that's what they do. They're the record keepers. They're the bookkeepers.
So, yep, 100%.
Yeah. So Jason opened the doors to the IGFA and introduced us to Trout Unlimited and Bonefish, Tarpon and Trust, the American Museum of Fly Fishing, and Orvis and Dio. And the industry just said, what can we do to help?
Yes.
Because we're not selling a new product. We're not selling a rod or reel or a new sunglass or some suntan lotion. We're selling the essence of what the sport of fishing is all about.
Yes. And how important it is, how it all came to pass.
Exactly. And
it's been going on for thousands of years, right?
Since the beginning of time.
Right.
I mean, man has fished for survival since the earliest recorded history.
And there's a primal thing about a hookup still, isn't there?
Oh, my God, there's nothing. I mean, every guy that's ever caught a fish in his life knows that I'm bit.
Yes.
That's the moment.
Yes.
After that, I don't care what happens.
Exactly.
I don't care. Here you go, Phil.
Yeah, I want to do that again.
Yeah, I'm going to go do this again. Yeah. I love working on the boats because it was all hook and hand.
Yes. You don't have to deal with the battle. You just get that cool.
Here you go, sir. But yeah, it's woven itself into the very fabric of America's soul.
Yes.
As well as around the world. I mean, there's 250 million licensed anglers annually.
Yeah.
Worldwide. And 50 million just in the U.S. 16% of the population fish.
Yep.
I mean, it's the #1 participatory sport in the world after walking.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So more people fish than snowboard, ski, play tennis, pickleball combined.
That's amazing. It's funny you say worldwide, because I know when I was in China or Vietnam or traveling around the world, I would be walking along a river or along the seashore, and I'd look out and see a fisherman and immediately felt a brotherhood.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Couldn't speak that language.
Nope.
I couldn't communicate, but I felt something there.
The water calls my name.
Yeah.
I think anybody that has that within their system, there's a camaraderie there.
Yes.
And what's interesting is that as a community, I call it wheelhouse mentality. It doesn't matter if you've got a 16-foot trailer boat or a $200,000 million yacht. Your mentality is making sure that boat's functioning, doing what it needs to do, getting you to where you want to be safely, catching your fish and coming home.
Yes.
As a community, we don't share a lot of, it's an individual sport for the most part.
Yeah.
We don't put 100,000 people around an arena with sticks and balls.
Yeah.
We don't. We're 10 times that amount of people are out fishing on any given Sunday. But we're not in a group.
Yes.
And I think as we move forward as an industry, and this is part of what we talk about in the film, is that there's an extreme environmentalist movement right now that wants to abolish sport fishing.
I know.
They just want to abolish it.
Yes.
They don't want to regulate it. They want to abolish it.
Yes.
And they're well funded, hundreds of millions of dollars coming out of the United Nations based on that 30 by 30.
Yep.
And they're good intended. They have good intentions. but they're completely misguided.
100%.
And they are looping sport fishermen in with the same group as unsustainable wholesale commercial harvest.
Yes.
And a grandfather.
So different.
It's two different worlds.
Yes.
A grandfather with his kid cannot go down and hurt a fishery.
That's right.
With a rod, reel, and a piece of string.
That's right.
You can't do it. So throughout the film, we try to showcase not only how meaningful the sport is to us that participate in it and what it means to the families and the friends that fish, but what it means as a spiritual healing.
100%.
I mean, you know, I'm getting a little woo, but I mean, it's truly when you got a rod and a reel in your hand and you get bit, there's nothing else in the world.
That's
I mean,
right.
That moment ceases to exist except for that line.
Mike, and perhaps it's more important now in our present situation than ever before with the social media and the kids, their depression rates are so high right now, and they really need to get outdoors. So I don't think you could definitely make a case that it is more important now than ever before.
I believe that.
Yeah.
Because I've fished my whole life. And my earliest memories are when I was 5 or 6 years old,
Yeah.
4 years old with my dad and my grandfather. And my dad caught a bass and it took him down. I thought it was in the rocks. I'm going, you're stuck on the bottom. And he goes, no, it's a fish. And I go, no, you're not. So and I remember that like it was yesterday.
Right.
That was 70 years ago.
Wow.
So, I mean, and all of us that fish have had those kind of memories. So it's like you said, it's being in nature. It's having your feet in the sand, you know, your boots on the gravel,
Vitamin D,
whatever it is.
Yeah.
It's participating in nature in a very spiritually uplifting and healing method. We've got some clips in here where we have casting for recovery for women with breast cancer that have been brought in to learn how to fly fish.
Yeah.
And then we've got wounded warriors, you know, healing waters where they take these veterans out and
Beautiful.
And really it showcases the healing proprietaries of the sport.
Yes.
And in the film, it's fishermen are loving it so far. The reviews have been off the chart. I mean,
I'm sure.
Yeah, it makes me feel so good because I sat in here for 4 years, had no clue what I was doing. It was like, oh my God.
Yeah, I laughed when you said, "Yeah, I can do 60 minutes
Right.
on that." Yeah, oh
Right.
my God, right?
Right.
You had no idea what you were getting into, did you?
No, and we've always cut to content.
Yeah.
So if you got good content, you just keep cutting.
Yes.
And it ended up being 12 hours. So we've got a 12-hour, 12-part documentary series that covers from the very first known painting of a rod and a reel.
Oh, you're kidding. You go back that far? That is great.
All the way through.
Yeah.
And we go all the way through to contemporary 4K action, conservation, children, and the future of the sport.
Wow.
So it's in all the disciplines. Bass, we've got Ray Scott, who started BASS.
Yeah.
We've got an interview with him that Ken Duke shot before he passed away that's never been seen when Ray Scott's actually talking about how the idea came to him about doing BASS, about trying to create a tournament for bass fishing.
Yeah.
Never been done.
Wow.
And how where he was when he had the idea, what he did when he did it, and then what it took to try to sell the idea.
Yeah.
That's all. I mean, that's never been told
No,
before.
that is so amazing.
And we got Bill Dance talking about trying to sell his show to the networks when he tried to get Bill Dance Outdoors started. And they're going, a what? A fishing show? No, we're not interested. Yeah. So it's really, you know, really great stuff. You know, Joe and Lean Wolf, early fly fishing.
And I'm sure you're doing like the long range,
we got
San Diego
Frank,
stuff.
Bill Poole. I mean, we talk about the whole legacy of Bill Poole and what he did for Southern California sport fishing, and then how he's passed the baton along to Frank, and Frank's passed it on to, you know, his mentors and you know, all the guys that are down there that are now third generation really of long range fishing, and how Southern California's fleet and really Bill Poole just elevated the sport.
Yes.
And we're the only Southern California long range boats are the only fleet in the world that fishes this way.
Yes, I know.
In the world.
With the bait, you know, the live bait.
Live bait and from an anchored boat, and it's and people around the world just really cannot conceive of what we have out here because they just can't fathom, you know, 116, 120 foot boats that are capable of going 5,000 miles and taking 30 people out for weeks at a time.
Yes.
They just don't get it.
I know.
So
so professionally done and such great food and
it's
accommodations that are great.
Air conditioned rooms and you know,
Wi-Fi,
Starlink and everything else. I mean, it's phenomenal.
Yes.
It's phenomenal. It's what Southern California has always done in the industries always filtered through and rippled through the rest of the country. There's some controversy early on about the first big fish ever caught on a rod and reel.
Yeah.
And I was thinking it was tuna, and it really wasn't. It was tarpon in the late 1800s. The first big fish that was ever taken on a rod and reel was tarpon.
Was that in Florida?
It was in Florida.
Yeah.
It was in Florida on old bass gear. They used to fish
Wow.
just standard bass gear,
Yeah.
Kentucky reels. And that was really sort of the beginning of it. And then as the Continental Railroad got completed and we kind of migrated west and east and west, and it just, there was a big competition between Florida and California for a long time about, you know, who had the best fishery.
Oh my God, Mike, I'm going to Florida on Thursday. I think I can come up with a great promo for the West Coast and East Coast for the show.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to catch a tarpon back there and then plug the show you put together.
Have you jumped a tarpon yet?
I have not.
Oh my God.
No, I've not.
When you don't really catch them.
Yeah.
You jump them. So if I jumped 15 tarpon a day, it means you got 15 bites.
Yeah.
And you didn't catch any, but who cares?
Yeah, exactly.
Because
you got the aerial display.
That bite is just, when they come out of the water, do that initial, and they're magnificent, 100, 250 pound fish. And you're right there on the beach.
Yes. Right. I mean Patrick is talking, my son, I'm going to visit him, and he's talking about, Dad, we're going to go check out the mullet run, when the mullet come on the beach. And this is what you're referencing, right?
Right.
Man, that just gets me all fired up.
Oh yeah, tarpon. I love tarpon fishing. It's an amazing fishery.
Yeah, all the time I spent in Costa Rica, I was teaching down there, so I didn't do that. But when I went back, I've done some fishing out of Croc Bay and some areas like that, and that's a great tarpon fishery there also, Dan, in Costa Rica. Good stuff.
Yeah, it's beautiful. You've been all over the world. I mean,
I've been lucky, Mike. Yeah,
we've both been pretty lucky.
Yes, absolutely. So the chronology of this film is Millennium.
It really is. It's somebody looked at it the other day, and a potential investor, and he was thinking, you know what, this is a timeless piece. It has no expiration date. Generations of people are going to be looking at this just like we are now, because it really covers the entire history of the sport as it evolved from an active survival into the sport it is today. And the neat part is that we blended historical old archive footage in with contemporary action throughout the whole series. So it's not like you're watching a didactic history film. You know, to me, it's always been entertain first and educate secondly.
100%.
If I'm being entertained, I'm absorbing whatever it is that
100%.
The filmmaker wanted me to look at.
I took that exact same philosophy into a 4th grade class in China. I knew that if these kids were not entertained,
you're going to lose them.
They're gone.
Yeah.
They're not going to learn.
Nope.
So you're so right about that. You just nailed it.
Entertain first, educate secondly.
Yeah. And the education will come.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's set up for family viewing, so it's something the whole family can sit down and watch. You don't have to watch it in order. There's no cliffhangers per se. It's like, oh my God, I got to. I hope people binge watch it. But one guy called me and said, okay, my girlfriend's taking off for the weekend. I was going to watch the first episode this morning, and now it's 12 hours later, and I still have 3 chapters to go. So he said I could not stop watching it, which is really neat to hear.
Yeah, 100%. Some of the footage that I've seen from your film is just spectacular.
Yeah, we've got the first 1,000-pound marlin ever captured on a rod and reel in the late 1920s with Zane Grey and Captain Lauren Mitchell down in Tahiti in Australia when they were trying to catch. And we've got that fish of Zane Grey, the first 1,000-pound fish ever caught on a rod and reel. So we have that film.
God,
the original 35 millimeter
God
film
Almighty.
from the Zane Grey estate. Yeah, so we've got really interesting stuff. We got great old Bill Poole footage. Tommy Gifford, controversial on the first kite. It was a West Coast design.
Yeah.
George Farnsworth was the first guy, and he was a boatman in Avalon, and he used to have his passengers swear to secrecy that they would not say how they caught the fish. And for 2 years, he kept it a secret. And then finally, on the 4th of July, he flew the kite through Avalon and said, this is how we're catching the tuna.
My God. Is that amazing or what?
Amazing,
and now, the Farnsworth Bank people fish that. Now they'll put some context to it.
Right.
They'll know who the guy was.
Yeah. And we've got him. We got pictures of him with a kite. And it's just, and the evolution of the Star Drag reel, Beauchamps reel. And that's just great stories. Just really interesting, fascinating pieces of the history,
And plus, you mentioned a moment ago, you never knew that the birthplace of big game fishing was Avalon. How many people do you think out there didn't realize that? And now they're going to know how their sport came into being.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And And I think we've done a really good job. I'm very proud of it. You know, all the work I've ever done. I think this is my flagship.
Yeah.
This is somebody said it only took you 4 years to do it, but it took your entire life to get to that point.
Yeah, but I mean, I would never say it only took you. That's 4 years, and I know how you work. It's not like you were out here,
No,
I'll do 10 minutes today.
No, it was 40, 60-hour weeks, and no Christmases, no holidays.
Yeah.
You know, this was kind of like, I felt like a mother with a nest, and I just didn't want to leave the eggs too long for somebody. You know, I was afraid of a fire or a mudslide.
Yeah.
So, you know, it just, as more and more work got done, the more oh my God, you know, what are we going to do? So anyway, it was incredibly challenging. I'm not a very tech guy, so I have over 400 terabytes of data wired into this system.
Wow.
Yeah, there's like 26 drives tied into it.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so it's a massive undertaking. If it hadn't been for this lady by the name of Tammy Edmonds-Hahn, who called me out of the blue after seeing something on Instagram or Facebook that we'd posted up about doing the series, she called me and said, hey, my dad was a photographer at the Miami Herald, and he helped start the Met, and he's a photographer, and I've got a bunch of old pictures of his that have never been seen, that are 4x5 negatives. Do you think you could use some of those? And I go, yeah, absolutely,
Heck
Tammy.
yeah.
So she turned out to just be the most amazing wealth of information, and became the head researcher for the film.
How nice. She was an angel sent to you, huh?
Just an angel. And I feel the same way. My mom, her dad, I just feel like they were going, okay, you two get together,
Yeah.
out of the blue, and we just connected like that. My wife calls her my work wife, and we probably talk 10, 15 times a day.
Wow.
And we have for almost 3 years on working through this, because she had a very, she's an incredibly intelligent woman, and had a very good understanding of where we needed to be. I'm all micro down, you know, I'm just like, give me a good music cut and some porn. We'll have, you know, we'll make fish porn. People, you know, she's going, well, we got to tell the story. I go, no, more fish porn.
Yeah, right.
So she calls it fish porn, and I, you know, and she's the intellect. So we've kind
that combination probably was perfect.
I think so too, because
Yeah.
I lean towards security of just, you know, I've always, when I did the Inside Sport Fishing show, I was like, hey, Phil, today we're going to be doing this, and you'd give me a rundown of what we're going to do, and next thing you know, we're bit, and it's just action.
Yeah.
So it's action driven, you know, music montage footage.
Yeah.
That's my go-to security blanket.
Right.
So on this, I kept wanting to go there, and she's going, no. But it really worked out well. I think there's a nice blend between.
It sure worked out beautifully.
Action, yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
Action and history, and she was phenomenal in telling the story and researching. Her notes are just. I thought I had a pile of notes. Her notes are, you know, off the charts in terms of how deep dives she'd go into each subject. Like, she was not really a fly fisherman, so she really had to research her fly fishing and the research. And then we brought in Dr. Terry Battisti, who, along with Ken Duke, are probably the two most knowledgeable bass fishing minds in the world. I mean, they've learned and forgotten more about bass fishing than most of us ever know.
Yeah.
So the two of them got in, and Terry helped write the bass chapters. And I think the combination of that type of depth to the subject is gonna make it universal and timeless.
I'm so happy that you also got in. I didn't realize you were going to get into freshwater at all in this, but you did that also.
Extensive.
I guess you had to if you're covering this history of sport fishing, right?
And we had to cover East Coast, and we had to cover the Gulf,
Yeah.
and get up into the Great Lakes and the Northwest, and so, you know, we really, really have tried to cover all aspects of the sport, all disciplines, and all parts of the country.
And so many of the personalities, as you mentioned, Frank LaPreste, Bill Pull, Tommy Rothery, all
Art
these
Taylor,
guys, Art Taylor,
Timmy Ekstrom, all these guys.
All those guys that have made this, going to Clipperton Island, going to all these places that, Mike, I feel like one of the best things about sport fishing is the places sport fishing takes you to.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. It's the places we get to go visit, and it can be as simple as walking down to the beach with a little surf rod and doing perch fishing.
Yes.
Or into the adventures of Alaska or wherever. It doesn't matter. I mean, it's the essence of the sport is the same wherever you are and whatever you're fishing for.
And some of the ancillary stuff, like you're going to catch a fish, but you run into a pot of orcas.
Oh, yeah.
Or these things that people that are on dry land, or deer fishermen, they never
2,000 pounds sunfish.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, how amazing.
Yeah.
How blessed are we to see that stuff?
I know.
And it's all part of sport fishing.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
And the family bond, I think, is the coup. I mean, every person I've talked to says, oh, my dad, my grandfather, my mother, whoever, my uncle, it's all mentoring. Somebody had to take a child fishing.
Yes.
To give them that introduction. And like you said earlier, today's with all the electronics and the instant gratification, fishing takes work. You know, you don't just go down there and put a rod in the reel and get bit. I mean, you've got to put in the effort. And I think that's part of what helps educate and helps build character.
I agree. I mean, because if you're doing it right, you're researching the topic, you're preparing.
Yep.
It's all that preparation that pays off when you get out on the water.
Yep.
And you have to research, what are they biting on? How's it going? How's this all going to play out? And then you can take that exact philosophy and apply it to your business plan or your marriage or whatever, right?
Exactly. It's soul enriching.
Yes.
And personality, character building.
Yes.
And fishermen are pretty cool people.
They are.
I mean, they're down to home. They're down to earth. You know.
Yes.
Surfers are cool.
Yeah.
Fishermen aren't so cool.
Yeah.
But fishermen are really, really good people.
Yes.
And they'd give you the shit off the back.
Mike, I tell you, we're doing a constant, every year we send clothing down to Mexico and everything. Everybody says, you're the greatest guy who ever lived. It's not me. I go on and I say, hey, guys, we need some. You have no idea. I mean, it gets to the point where 22nd Street Line is ready to kill me. We have so much stuff, and then we have to move it to a warehouse. But I mean, I'm amazed at people that just show up with fishing gear and medical supplies.
Shoes or medical supplies. Right.
Yeah.
You know?
And those are the fishermen that give me so much hope about the people in this industry. Yeah. It's beautiful.
Well, and I think, too, that to me, fishermen give me hope for this country.
Yeah.
To be honest with you. I mean, when you come down to the basic fundamentals of why we're here, what we're doing, what are we doing with our lives, fishermen have an essence about them that's a connection through nature. And I think they appreciate the planet.
Yes.
The sunshine.
Yes.
And the clean water.
Absolutely.
And the healthy fisheries.
Yeah.
And clean beaches and clean rivers. And I mean, we have since the beginning of time.
Yes.
So
there's certain attempts to demonize fishermen, but what you're pointing out is the reality of it.
Exactly. And the film showcases that. And it was done in a way that hopefully our lawmakers that maybe don't fish will have a better perspective of what the difference is between a commercial, unregulated wholesale slaughter harvest and a grandfather and his kid and a rod and a reel and a bobber.
Thank you. That is so beautifully put.
So
that is a message that needs to get out there.
Yep. And as a community, there's so many great communities. The CCA, American Sport Fishing Association, Keep America Fishing, Fish for Life. I mean, there's just Rollo. You know, there's organizations throughout the country that support healthy fisheries.
Yes.
And as an angler, I think it's important that we show a unified front.
Me too.
We just don't have it. We don't have the cloud of the NRA, and we can't sway. We don't because of the wheelhouse. The
100%.
It's the wheelhouse mentality. We're isolated. I don't really want to have anybody next to me when I'm fishing.
Yeah, right. I don't want anybody to know what it is.
I don't know where this corner is. This is my spot right here. Yeah. You know. So, but given that's the nature of who we are, I also think it's important that we have a united voice.
That we come together.
So I think it's more so now than any other time in this country's history that we need to have our voices heard and make our voices count, and we can do that by our votes. It doesn't matter. I don't care who you're, red, blue, or black. It doesn't matter to me. Just make your voices heard. Do your research. Make sure you're not just swallowing the propaganda
100%
and makes decisions. And as an anglers, I think we can do that with our pocketbooks by donating to American Sport Fishing Association, $5, Trout Unlimited, CCA. It doesn't matter. Just let your voice. And part of what we're doing with this distribution on the film, you asked me about how we're going to distribute it.
Yeah.
Netflix said, we loved it 20 years, in 2020. When they were buying everything they get their hands on.
Right.
But now it's all shifted, and nobody in Hollywood's 87% of the business is off, so they're not buying. So we went to this direct marketing affiliate program, basically. And Jim Packer, who is the president of Lionsgate, said, you follow what they did with The Chosen. which is a story about baby Jesus.
Right.
And it was produced by Jesus people, and they basically, to their affiliate churches, said, hey, we've got this series. And it was so successful on the internet that Lionsgate acquired the license and now distributes it worldwide.
Oh, wow.
So Jim said, you show me that anglers care enough about this sport to watch it, we'll buy it.
Oh, that's great.
So part of it is trying to get the momentum and the word of mouth out that, yeah, there's millions of anglers that have paid $50 to watch this. It's a viable marketplace.
50, that's it? $50 for the entire?
$50, you get all 12 chapters.
Wow.
12 hours, and then for $75, you get another 24 hours of the best of inside sport fishing.
Oh, shoot, that's great.
Tribute to tuna, big boat, big
my
fish,
God.
marlin off the rocks, deep color.
Some of those things I remember watching as
classics.
a kid. Yeah, like, oh, I want to do that. Yeah.
Tribute to Wahoo. So we're putting those in as a premium package for another $25. But
how do people purchase? What
online,
do they do?
Just go to the historyofsportfishing.com.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then once you got it, then you can cast it to your TV. You can download it on your phone.
You've got it forever, right?
Yeah, it's basically a 12-month deal.
Yeah.
We don't automatically renew, so it's a 12-month. The way that the system's set up, it's a membership deal, but it's not auto-renewable.
Yeah.
We'll send you out notices, and you can cancel anytime. There's no obligations.
Yeah, yeah.
Just watch it.
So many people dismiss fishing as, or I think they have in their head, it's some guy that goes out on a boat and puts a hook in a dumb bait and throws it over and gets a bite and catch fish. What could be so profound about that? You have pointed out Grandpa and the grandchild, the places that fishing takes you to, how it teaches you how to prepare in life. It's way more than taking a bait and throwing it in the water, right?
Exactly.
And this film points that out and so much more. And it does it in the way that I teach. It entertains. Yep. It's going to be so entertaining, and then it becomes didactic.
Yeah,
it teaches.
Exactly. You learn from it. There's a lot of history to it, and it's woven itself into the fabric of our souls as a country and as individuals. And we can't let that go. We've got to be united that we want to protect our right to fish, our right to participate with nature. And the extremists today are saying, hey, we should only participate as observers, that they think humans should not interact with nature in any capacity, which is insane. It's insane.
Yeah, it's going to hurt.
It's going to hurt. It's going to hurt millions of people.
Yes.
And millions of jobs.
Yep.
And we're one of the industry, if it was a whole, would be in the Fortune top 500. I mean, it's a $50 billion a year industry.
Crazy.
$50 billion.
Yeah.
With boats and motors and travel and equipment. It's like people just don't register it. That it's a huge. Johnny Morris does. He gets it.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, and he gives it all back too, which is really cool. We got Bill Shedd and Yvonne Chenard and Johnny Morris and these guys that are just giving back in a way that's just inspiring.
Mike, you have woven yourself, and so has this film, into my heart and soul. I value our friendship so much.
Thank you.
Congratulations on such a fabulous film, my friend.
Thank you, sir.
And thank you for having us here in your beautiful home. This has been great.
Thanks for coming down.
History of Sport Fishing. Don't miss it.